Welcome to Tales from the Hellmouth, a Buffy and Angel podcast. Join your hosts Adam and Chris as they review episodes of the beloved shows and discuss the comics that have continued and expanded the Buffyverse. And now, Tales from the Hellmouth.
Welcome to another episode of Tales from the Hellmouth, a Buffy and Angel podcast and Vidcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam, and with me is my co-host, Chris. Chris, how's it going?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and it's our first recording of 2023 together. So, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you for having me.
28 days into the year.
It's okay.
But it still counts. And it's always cool and fun to talk about the Buffy and Angelverse as it were, or as everything's a verse now. So
everything is a verse, yes.
And while we're waiting for the DC Studios to announce their rebooted or revamped or whatever it's going to be universe, let's talk about some other things that we love in the meantime. So why not Buffy and Angel specifically? This episode is very angel-centric because in the first portion of the show, Chris, we're going to look at season 1, episode, is it 8, I believe?
It's 7 or 8.
Let me do a quick check here. I pull it up. It should come up real quick because I watched it yesterday and I had all the information up. So all it takes is a quick look through. It is Buffy season 1, episode 7, and it is aptly titled Angel. So that's what we're going to do next. And then after the break, we will discuss the 8-issue 2022 comic miniseries from Boon Studios, Angel. And we'll get into that as I alluded to a little bit later in the show. But first up, Buffy season 1, episode 7. So, Chris, give us a little bit of a rundown of what the general goings-on of this episode are.
Yeah, so at this point in the Buffy series, we've met most of the characters. Angel's been around, but we don't know a lot about Angel. So in this one, we finally get to find out more about who and what he is. And in the midst of that, of course, the Master's got some plans. He sends this villainous trio called the Three, which are just 3, like, heavily armored vampires, I guess.
Yeah,
Buffy.
Warrior vampires is Giles.
Yeah, chaos ensues, and there's the episode.
The interesting thing here, before we get into the specifics of the Angel portion, is that early on in the episode we see that Buffy has really kind of become more of a threat to the Master because, like, early on in the episode, he talks about, like, you can see his frustration, and it's almost like sending these 3, or the 3 as they're called, is like a desperate last ditch kind of effort, because she's basically doing away with his top vampires, right? And so you could sense the frustration coming from the Master, and I think that shows you the strength and how well Buffy is at being the Slayer, like how special she is in that regard, because she is causing him so much issue.
I agree with that. Now, but I will say this too. I don't really think we ever got a sense of how powerful the Master actually was. Because he was mostly sending minions and things like that.
Yeah.
But I agree. Buffy was doing some damage to his... He thought he was going to kind of show up in Sunnydale and wreak havoc and nobody's going to ask questions.
Yeah.
And she just puts a stake in that real quick. No pun intended.
Right. Now, my question with his reaction to her is, I mean, would you not... I guess he's dealt with other Slayers in the past, so maybe he thought, oh, this will be another pushover, because I'm assuming, if I remember correctly, he knew the Slayer was in Sunnydale, right? Like once he.
I think he's made aware of that in the pilot. I don't
Right.
remember him knowing that immediately, but he's aware of it.
Right. So either he like totally underestimated her,
Mm-hmm.
or he's just got some bad planning going on, because it's like, and I get he needs to like he's not a full capacity to ascend yet, right? So he can't do it himself, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, he's stuck underground.
Yeah.
For some reason.
But it's like, I mean, they built him up, like they alluded to him as this as this, ultimate heel, ultimate bad guy, and it's like,
yeah.
all right, like stop, like I don't know, this happens outside of Buffy. When you look at villains that they're trying to make you think you believe are these formidable, top tier threats or heroes, yet so often they surround themselves with complete morons. Like, it happened with Lex Luthor in the Christopher Reeve Superman movies.
Mm-hmm.
He surrounds himself with morons.
Yeah.
And it goes same with the Joker. He surrounds himself with people that Batman can easily dispose of. So it's like, and Ra's al Ghul, et cetera, et cetera. They all these supposed top tier threats, for whatever reason, the people they send out to do their bidding are absolute fools. Like, I get why that is, for the nature of the show or the movie or what have you, for the to set up the ultimate conflicts, because
mm-hmm.
if the villain wins in episode 1 or an hour into the movie, what are we doing here, right? But it's just
making a good time.
Yeah, but in terms of what they're building up in the story and who they're aligning themselves with, it doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is no different, especially when you consider the kid. The kid in some episodes is more evil than the Master himself.
Yeah.
Like at the end of this episode, the Master's basically crying a river.
Yeah.
And the kid's like, "We're gonna get him. Don't worry." It's like, whoa, where did you come from, kid?
One, he's the next in line, right? He's So you'd assume, I mean, that maybe not right away. You're right. You assume that at some point the anointed one would be stronger than the Master.
Right.
But the weird part about it is that, what is he, 6, 7, between like
8 tops, I think.
8 to 10 max, right?
Yeah.
And he's acting like the mafia boss,
like
saying
he's like the Omen or something.
Yeah, it's like
it's like the Omen.
yeah, kind of. It gives. Yeah, you're right. That's So it was kind of weird seeing the Master kind of mope around for the good majority of the proceedings.
He was whining like Reed Repulsa or something.
Yeah, which is another. Yeah. I was waiting for. I've got a headache. I'm like, come on, say it. But yeah. So that was. I like the how strong they're positioning Buffy. By the amount of damage she's causing to the Master in this regard. So I like that. But it also, at the same time, if you're trying to sell me on the idea that the three are like the in video game terms, like the step before the big boss,
the pre-bosses.
It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense that that the three of them would have her kind of struggling at first, right? Which would necessitate Angel coming in and helping her out.
Yeah, so the three kind of come and go though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're not like they talk them up early in the episode, but once Angel comes into the picture, they're not much of. Once the odds are a little bit more even, they're not much of a problem.
And it's surprising what happens to them given how much they were talked up and how long they were around in the continuity. Not from what we see, but what we're told, the exposition,
Yeah.
that these guys weren't just, simple.
Yeah.
They were so much of a force there in Giles' books. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Angel slaps them and it's done.
Yeah. So you're right. It's a little. The basically from what you're told and what you get are two different scenarios. It's like
it's the equivalent if like you brought up Batman and the Joker. If 15 minutes into 89, the Joker gets arrested.
yeah,
It'd be the equivalent.
What? What's the point? Yeah.
Right. He's in jail. The movie's done. Go home.
Yeah. See ya. No, but yeah, you're right. I agree with that. But so Buffy and Angel scare off the three, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, for fear that they'd come back, and the fact that Buffy has no idea who or what Angel it really is, she takes him back to her place. Conveniently, mentions when she opens the door, "Come inside," get inside, which is essentially the invite, right?
Mm-hmm.
To allow him inside. And then that's where the pieces start falling into place, because we get to know a little bit more about Angel. But what I was kind of curious about, maybe because I had forgot the lore, or I'm getting confused with certain things. She's got to bandage up Angel's wound,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like, he's a vampire. Shouldn't that heal?
I was thinking that too. Like, what is there to bandage?
Yeah,
and he
like
takes his shirt off, and she sees him. So I didn't really get that either. Maybe that was them still trying to screw with us as an audience. But after the fact, it's like, hey, that doesn't fit.
Yeah, but didn't we? But I guess the audience at that point weren't made aware that he was a vampire either until that point. Right?
We didn't know. So that's what I mean. They were kind of screwing with us, but at the same time, like in the story, you see that. Then literally 10 minutes later, we learn. Oh, wait a minute. There probably was no wound.
Yeah,
or there shouldn't have been one.
Because she's looking at him now. Granted, she sees more of his back, but
she's fixated on the tattoo he got in the year 1720.
Right, but where was this? My question is, where was this supposed wound? Because watching the episode, I ain't seeing bleeding.
No, there's blood.
Oh, but is it?
There's blood on. There's blood on the shirt, and you can see like it's torn.
Okay.
I think they scratched him or something. I don't remember.
Right, but by the time they get back to the house, that scratch is gone. I mean, let's be honest.
I mean, it was gone 10 seconds later.
But yeah,
I don't even know how it bled.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's never brought, like, once he takes the shirt out, like, there's nobody says, "Oh, where'd your wound go?"
Like, hey, weren't you kind of dying a minute ago?
Buffy doesn't even acknowledge it. She's like, "Oh, that's a nice tattoo," and whatever. And then they're about to kiss, and the mother comes in.
I was gonna say, I think that's what stops her from paying attention, and maybe as is the audience too. Like, oh, they're gonna kiss, then mom's home, can't do that now.
Yeah, right.
But correct me if I'm wrong. In the Buffy movie, didn't she bring Luke Perry home in a similar way?
I believe so. Yes. Because it was very.
I wonder if this was like a throwback to that, without the mom, of course.
Nod. Yeah. It was a nod for sure. But and her go-to excuse is why this guy is randomly in the house. My question is, why wouldn't he stay in the shadows? Like, solve the here. Like, don't even present the problem by, like, just hide. Why walk into the actual room where the mother is?
Maybe he's just an older, respectable gentleman. He's like, I'm not going to do that.
What is he, 200 and some odd?
I think they said 240.
Yeah, so I mean, you might be on the right track there. But I'm like, You were out of sight, out of mind. You presented yourself in the room. Had you just stayed over there while Buffy tried to get her upstairs, there wouldn't have had to be an explanation.
No, but TV.
And the explanation is, well, he's helping me study at presumably midnight or whatever it is.
Not study hour.
Yeah, right. But so, and then, there's more allusion to will they kiss, won't they kiss, when she takes him upstairs. Ends up, he stays there because, again,
why not?
The presumption, I would have too. I'm not begrudging him, but the presumption is he's still human, right? She thinks he's still human. There's a concern that if those three come back and you're out on the street, you could get killed. So stay here the night and we'll figure things out. He sleeps on the floor, and he takes the floor, and nothing happens. But the next day it's like typical, stereotypical, girl talk between Willow and Buffy about Angel spending the night, Xander getting jealous. To which I still. It's like, buddy, 7 episodes in, I know, and everybody else knows, that you have zero shot with her. Like, buddy, just come to the realization that
never
it ain't happening, right? So it's like, but it's like, I don't know what they're like. If you ain't catching on to that fact, I don't know how to help you.
It's funny when you watch the first season and then, like, we've seen all the entire series. But the way the characters changed from this first season, like Xander is much more serious here, whereas in the later seasons he's basically a goofball.
Right.
It's interesting to see those changes. Like, what even dictated that?
And also with Willow, she's talking about crushing on Xander, and it's like, well, this ain't gonna last long.
No, that was temporary, which is fine.
Which is cool. I mean, but that makes sense. I mean, that makes sense because you could come to that realization.
Yes.
Later on, right? So it's not like, oh my God, that doesn't make any sense. That actually fits and tracks quite realistically.
I think it worked really well with Willow specifically.
Right. So, once the Master disposes of the three, via Darla, right? Who does the, Darla says, you got to let me, take care of the Slayer. And, her ultimate plan is to have Angel be the one that kills her. And the way to do that is to, in Darla's thought process, is to show Angel that once Buffy realizes what he is, she'll hate him, and that'll flip the switch, and he'll side with them, which in theory that's not a bad plan.
No, it's a pretty solid plan. It actually was not a bad plan at all.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, I mean. There's validity there. I could buy that, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, and here's the Batman fan in me. It kind of reminds me of the plan in Batman Returns, right? Is between Penguin and Catwoman. It is turn Batman into what he hates the most, one of us, right? Make him be the villain.
Poor
right?
Ice Princess.
Yeah, that's a hell of a way to light up a tree, I'll tell you. But so yeah, the plan was solid. And we get more bedroom scenes with Buffy and Angel. There's a funny exchange about she comes back with dinner, if you can call whatever that was dinner.
A bag of something.
I didn't even know what's in that bag, but all right. Apparently she left him in her room all day, which begs the question. Did her mother not go? Well, yeah.
She did.
She did.
But he was hiding in the closet.
He hid in the closet. So I'm not going to hide when she comes home, but now I'm going to hide. It's like, why didn't you use this principle the first time around? But
it makes more sense, though. What
does.
are you doing alone in my daughter's room? You're like 30.
Yeah, it does.
Or in my house. What are you doing alone in my house?
Yeah, never mind her room. That's step 2.
That's irrelevant.
Yeah. But yeah, so he says, she goes like, "What did you do all day?" And he's like, "I read." And Buffy notices that her journal's misplaced, and so she assumes that he read the journal. This is where you remember that, okay, these are supposed to be like this hits home that it's teenagers, right? Because like the importance of, oh my God, the journal and the privacy of my journal, and in her assumptions, she kind of reveals some of what's in there, and the fact that she has feelings and a crush on him and all that jazz. And then there's more push and pull. Well, they won't they? He's like, well, we can't do this. I'm older than you, and she's, how much? And he doesn't say anything because that would give away the whole thing. Then they go in to kiss, and then as they do that, he pulls away, and then when he turns back, he's got vampire face.
The big reveal.
Which kind of caught me off guard, because it's like, just kissing her will get you there. Like I mean,
well, he had no contact with anybody for the last 100 years or so, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that's what, like, he just gets his bags of blood and goes home.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I get out of it. So any kind of contact, like, hey, this is interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I could buy that.
That's how I took it.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Because later on, as the series progresses, he doesn't go vamp face every time he kisses her, right? Because
he calms down.
Yeah.
Well, also, it's I don't even think he messed with the other vampires during that time.
Right. Yeah. Well, the way they make it seem, the way he talks, that he shied himself away. Like, remember when Darla visits him? Like, so after this scene, he gets the hell out of there as Buffy's freaking out. And then he goes back to his hideout, I guess you could say. You can't call it.
Pretty cool apartment for a vampire that doesn't interact with anybody.
Yeah, it's very
90s.
Very dark, yeah. Kind of reminded me of the sleeping chambers of Ben Affleck's Daredevil in the Daredevil movie.
A little bit, yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, this tracks. This is
in retrospect, I can see the similarity there.
It's very reminiscent. So when he's back at his place, that's when Darla comes in, and we get some exposition on what led to Angel becoming a vampire, and it's revealed that she was the one that made him, which kind of played with my memory a bit, because I had always assumed he sired Spike, right?
That stuff gets pretty muddy, and I know they explain it in detail, but I feel like we're told one thing at the start, and it was changed or something. Because I don't think he made Spike. I think Drusilla did.
But did Angel make Drusilla?
Maybe.
So in a roundabout way, it's.
That's something I got to go back and look at, because I don't remember how that works. But I do know they didn't really start fleshing that out until much later.
Because I remember when I was watching this, and Darla said, or alludes to the fact that she turned them, I'm like, I could have sworn it was Spike. And then I'm like, maybe he turned Spike. And then I'm like, yeah, but then I thought about what you said about Drusilla. But then I'm like, all right, I'm just confused, and I'll roll with it. And
no, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Because like, they don't really like each other, Angel and Spike. So I don't think I don't know. I gotta look that up.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we get there, we'll find out. So that's the fun of it. It'll be brand new again.
It will.
But yeah, so it was cool to get a little bit of backstory about that she was the one, as of right now.
Yeah, as of right now, we'll go with it.
that turned him, right? and even says, or she even says, after a couple decades, you kind of cut yourself off, and you're trying to be one of them. You stayed away from the vampires, and so she even alludes to that, right? So then the investigation into okay, what is Angel from Buffy and Giles and Willow and Xander. That
very
all
convenient.
begins. Xander's pro, let's kill him and get him out of the way. But again, I say, buddy, read the room. You never had a chance to begin with. But you gotta love Giles. He's trying to make this as because he knows in theory Xander's right. She's a Slayer. He's a vampire. 1 + 1 = 2. You got to kill him, right? That's the job. But even Giles at this point is trying to make that as digestible for Buffy as possible.
Let her down gently.
Meanwhile, Xander's just you gotta kill him. That's it.
You gotta kill him and get with me. That's the idea.
Yeah, and Willow's still doing the stereotypical teenage girl. Oh, Tom, how does this feel? The whole that aspect of it, which is weird for Willow, knowing what she'd be, knowing the trajectory, and not just the fact that she ends up with a woman, but like her trajectory and her powers and her strength later on,
and the maturity level that she has versus the others.
To see her in that kind of stereotypical best friend talking about boys, talking about it, it's a little weird knowing what we know now, right?
Well, that's also, it's just great character growth too.
Yeah, right. It is. It absolutely is.
In her case, maybe not in Xander's, but in her case, it's a really cool character arc.
Yeah, Xander goes backwards. I think
he does.
Though him and Cordelia have a nice growth together down the road.
They do.
So I did like that. Now, so we also get the implementation of Darla's plan, and it works perfectly. In that she goes to Buffy's home. Of course, she's dressed as a student, so why would Joyce question her motives? She says she's there to help Buffy study. Willow was handling history, and she was going to handle whatever. And so Joyce lets her in. She bites Joyce. Angel rushes in. The sensation of the blood makes him go full vamp mode. And then Darla leaves, and Buffy walks in, seeing Angel with vamp face, holding his mother, and the mother's bleeding from the neck. So, I mean, the natural assertion is, you bit my mother. She kicks him through the window, much like Shawn Michaels did to Marty Jannetty back at the barbershop way back in the 90s, and says, if you come near my family again, we're going to kill you. I actually did think of that when I was watching the episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, she just pulled a Shawn Michaels at the barbershop.
I don't know if I would call Angel Marty Jannetty, but I'm
right. He's definitely a little bit more.
He may be more the Triple H
than Marty Jannetty is, that's for sure. But okay, so there's that, and then the question I had with when Darla goes to visit Angel a second time and says, "See, I told you, join us and take her down." Angel seemingly agrees at this point. Was that just a ruse to get her there?
I don't think so, because Angel said later, I think it was after the fight or where they were talking, I wanted to kill you at first, which was kind of uncalled for. I don't really know where that came from, but I think Darla just kind of talked him into it.
Yeah.
Because that was weird. I was thinking, that's like, why is he? Because at first I did think this is a ruse, But then you get that line later. It's like, oh, wait a minute. What was this? That was weird.
But also, I get the sense that at that point, like, if he had killed her, so be it. But I think at this point, Angel was okay with the fact, because of what happened, because she had seemingly rejected him. He was like, well, if I kill her, fine. If she kills me,
I think he might have been looking for death. I think he wanted to be killed.
He had been, because he's like, let's finish this, right? So he's like, if I can't have her, even though I know I shouldn't, then screw it. I'll just, whatever. She can kill me.
Yeah, because he spent so much time alone that he said, well, maybe I could have something. Nope, can't do that. Just kill me. I think it was like that. I don't know.
Yeah. And so when the final fight was actually really well done. And they made Darla very formidable here.
Yeah, so this is where I have an issue with the episode.
Like, in a sense that she was formidable, but also not. In the sense that it looked like she was close to, taking out Buffy at periods.
Yeah.
But then the way she got surprised by Angel, and wasn't prepared for that possibility, kind of makes her.
No, I actually didn't mind that. That was fine to me because, of course, she's not going to expect Angel, who just agreed to kill her.
Okay, yeah, fair. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
So, but what bothered me is, why does Darla have, like, dual-wielding pistols right now? She's got, like, dual Desert Eagles going nuts at the Bronze. It's just kind of weird to me.
So it's more, why was she using a gun?
Yeah, like, you're a vampire. Why do you have guns?
I definitely see that, for sure. That's definitely a valid question. My only kind of way to kind of reconcile as to why is because she sees that what Buffy's done to her cohorts up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, maybe just being a vampire isn't good enough with this one.
Okay.
Like, maybe the guns were a way to, like, take her out first, like, immobilize her, and then I could finish her off as a vampire, like do my vampire thing.
That makes sense. I mean, even if she would have shot her once, weakened her, she could have went in for the kill. That makes sense.
Because she was saying, let me take out your knees, right?
Yeah, she did say that.
So
say that.
That's how I assumed it.
I mean, it's a cool visual.
Yeah.
Darla with guns is a pretty cool visual.
Yeah, it looked pretty badass. It did definitely look pretty badass.
It looked like something out of an anime or something.
Right, it did. And so, but I thought the final fight, if you will, I thought it was pretty solid. Pretty, like you said, it looked pretty badass. And
yeah, it's a cool fight.
And then we end up. The episode ends kind of at the Bronze, which has been fumigated for cockroaches, and it's supposedly completely good to go in there. Although I don't know, I still, if this is a yearly thing, I think
maybe condemn the place.
Some firings should happen, and the new management needs to be brought in. But anyway, so it ends up her and Angel end up there. They end up dancing, and the we shouldn't do this back and forth. Yeah, we shouldn't. One of us should leave. Neither of them really leave. They start kissing, and then you see as Buffy leaves, because Buffy's wearing a cross, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I guess from their contact, he's got the burn of the cross in his.
I love that.
That was pretty cool. That was really
very cool.
And it's like, because he even said it's painful, and I'm like, at first it didn't click. I'm like, if kissing her is painful, sign me up.
Well, it was a double meaning.
Right. But then when I saw that, I'm like, you still sign me up. I'll take the burn. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this episode for the most part. Some qualms that we mentioned aside, the reveal of Angel was very well done. Mm-hmm. We got enough backstory to keep me intrigued and wanting to see more of that. So what are your final thoughts? And then let's give it a letter grade.
You know, it's I've talked about this before. It's been a while since I've watched the show like
Yeah.
episode by episode. I've seen various episodes over the years, rewatch and whatnot. This is the one I hadn't, and so revisiting it, there's something. It's still good. I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
But some pieces of this just have not aged that well for me, particularly the way the three are handled.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Some of the personality stuff throughout the episode, and then just like your basic, this doesn't make sense for teenagers kind of stuff. But overall, it's a show about teenagers fighting vampires and monsters, so you can't critique it too much.
Right.
I enjoy it. If I had to give a letter grade, I want to give it an A for the reveal by itself. So let's call it a B plus, I guess.
Yeah, that's where I am. I'm at a B plus. There was far more good than negative for me. And the reveal of Angel was really, really well done. Like,
that's the best part of the episode.
If you show this to somebody that has never seen this show before, I don't think they'd point to him and say, "Yeah, he's a vampire."
That's a good question. I wonder because he doesn't really. Before that, I don't remember seeing any vampire characteristics or anything. You'd say, "Oh, he's got to be a vampire."
Other than the fact that he always showed up around at night, right?
That's the only thing. But I mean,
but again, that could be the illusion of, when Buffy is walking alone.
Right.
You want to give the sense of danger at every turn. So having somebody come up behind her and then not actually be a vampire, that just goes to show you that anybody could be a threat.
And mostly, the daytime parts of the episodes are in school anyway.
Yeah.
The show mostly takes place at night, unless she's in school.
Yeah.
So there was really no other time for him to pop up. He's not going to pop up at school because he's clearly like a 30-year-old man.
Yeah, what else is he going to do? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's either a teacher or some creepy crap is going on. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to give it a B plus. Really solid. You could see the chemistry between the two actors and the two characters.
Boreanaz is great too. I think he really stands out when you talk about the actors of the show. Sarah Michelle Gellar, of course, is Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, she's
top of the line. But
she's top tier Hall of Famer,
Right. But David Boreanaz was always, to me, a very solid second to her.
Yeah. Back in the day, I remember, I don't know if it was before he got the Angel spinoff, I was championing him for Batman in some kind of fashion.
If they ever do a TV Batman, he is still one of my top 3 picks.
Oh, he could be an older Batman in terms of
kill it.
Because he's in his 50s now.
Is he? Well, Sarah Michelle Gellar's 41.
So late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah,
maybe?
he's probably the same age range because I don't think they're much different.
So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, if they go for like an older TV Batman, and John Hamm says no, you go to him.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, if they went the Batfleck route, but again, for whatever reason, if James Gunn wants to go with an older Batman again, I don't know.
Not against it.
I think David Boreanaz could pull it off, and I know this is Batman talk, but we're Batman fans. It's always going to devolve into my theory, and I could be proven wrong either Monday or Tuesday.
Or tonight.
I doubt it's going to happen tonight. But with James Gunn, who knows? But at most by Monday or Tuesday, I could be proven wrong, potentially. But I think we're going to see James Gunn's Batman fully developed in a series, more so than a standalone film.
I do too.
And if he came out, like I said, in the next few days and said, "Oh, we've already cast Batman, and it's David Boreanaz, and he's gonna have Dick Grayson and some of the Bat family with him," I'd be like, "All right, I'll buy it."
His Andrew's the guy who plays it. His Robin is the guy who plays Andrew.
Yeah. But yeah, no, their chemistry was great, and I still am on the fence about which I champion more, whether it's Buffy and Angel or Buffy and Spike, We'll have to see as things go on, as we keep going down the track. When that pops up, we'll have to confront it. But
that's going to be a discussion.
Yeah, I always thought that they were a good pairing, and the fact that they could but couldn't be together was actually heartbreaking, and actually well done. But yeah, solid episode and a great introduction of the reveal of Angel as a vampire with a soul.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk more about that vampire with a soul after the break when we review the Boon Studios 8-issue miniseries, simply titled Angel. So we'll be right back, and we'll be talking some comics, so stay tuned.
What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast. For all of your multiverse viewing and listening needs, check out our shows, which include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, the Marvel Universe, and the DC Universe, including the Emerald Echo podcast. You can check us out on Podbean, and remember to subscribe right here on YouTube. That's the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network. From the first podcast to the last.
And we're back, and as promised, we are discussing the 2022 8-issue miniseries, Boon Studios comic, Angel. And so, Chris, who's the creative team behind this? And give us a general idea of what the story behind this comic is.
I'm very excited to talk about this.
Me too.
The writer is Christopher Cantwell, and the artist is Daniel Bayliss. Both of these guys have some good stuff under their belts. But what's exciting about this book to me is it's an Elseworlds title. I love Elseworlds.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could do all kinds of things in these Elseworlds, and they don't matter. So with this one, it takes place in a different universe where Buffy is not around. She is not the Slayer. The Slayer is actually Fred.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Also, Angel is on a TV series with Cordelia, which is also a cool change. Everything you know about the Angel series is different here, for the most part. You have all the characters, which is cool. Like Lauren is there, who's a favorite of mine. Gunn is there. Lindsay's even there. And so the book takes place over 8 issues, and it's got 2 arcs, which is rare for a limited series. Usually a limited series is 1 arc and you're done. This has 2. Yeah. The first arc deals with it's something straight out of the series. They find a like a wooden house. Well, first they're finding a mummy. The mummy curses Wesley. Then they have to find a wooden house that has a spirit inside. Yeah. Chaos ensues. The next arc, though, is just a thing of beauty. It's about other dimensions versions of Angel and Spike coming to wreak havoc in this universe. And it's just a good time.
And it's to be the interesting thing about the first arc, if you will, was like seeing Angel have to shrink.
Yeah.
And him having to deal with that, and Spike always ribbing him about it. You're right. It felt very much like the show.
It could have been like a couple episodes of the show. It really could have been.
Easily.
They nailed the dialogue, the feel. It's like the show. The only thing I would say is Angel's a little more lighter.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Like the fact that he would allow himself to be on a TV show is kind of like, oh, okay, that's a little different.
It's different. And him making jokes, it's different.
But also it's kind of meta because Angel and Cordelia were very close on the show. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of meta, the fact that they were on a TV show, in a comic about a TV show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that aspect a lot.
Yeah. And in the course of that first arc, Wesley essentially becomes a zombie.
Yeah, in the weirdest way.
Oh, so weird. But the weirdness kind of echoes later seasons of the show. Like you'd see that in the show.
That's kind of what I love about this book compared to like the other Buffy books, because I've tried some over the years and they don't really stick with me. But this one did, because they aim to make it like the series. And
Right.
that says volumes about it. If you like the series, you will like this book.
Yeah, I agree with that. The one of the interesting things to me in terms of character is Cordelia is kind of like a mix of the early seasons of what she was on Buffy,
Mm-hmm.
and then what she became on the Angel show.
Yeah. Yeah,
She
they
was
did mix her.
She was a kind of a hybrid of the two, because like you saw that attitude, that LA girl attitude,
Mm-hmm.
the celebrity in this aspect of her being the lead of a show or co-lead. But then when push came to shove and she had to help out, when things got mystical and strange and all that, and lives were at stake, she was clutch in the end. So you get both of that. Both of those personas in one here. Lauren was pretty recognizable
Mm-hmm.
from the get go, and even what's his name? You mentioned him.
Good.
Yeah. He was recognizable, except the fact that he was basically also Angel's agent, which was kind of
Yeah, that was different.
Kind of
But,
different.
but I like the spins they put on the characters, because they were, like you said, they're still recognizable. Like,
Yeah.
even though Lauren is really toned down in this, it's still Lauren.
Yeah. They're still, and I think the most like his TV counterpart from the get go all the way through is probably Spike.
I agree with that. Spike. Spike is carbon copy.
Yeah, pretty much. But that character was so well done. Why would you deviate from it, right?
And he, in the Spike is one of the characters throughout both series who showed the most range, I think, other than Buffy and herself. Like, I guess I mean between Spike and Angel. Spike showed much more of a range of emotion and personality, whereas Angel was just constant brooding man, number 7.
Yeah. Right. I agree with that. So the first arc was pretty fun, and it ends I think pretty clean.
Yeah.
The being that they were fighting was somebody that Cordelia used to love.
Which was such a cool thing to do, because if you remember the show, you remember the episode this guy was in. It's so cool.
Yeah, it was such a deep cut from the show that it's like, wow, these guys really either knew the show or went back and did their homework.
They might have read the Wikipedia.
It could be, but
and that was a deep cut.
Yeah, and his soul is kind of maintained in this wooden mystical mini house, and so he gets a happy ending, even though he can't be with Cordelia. He even tells her, you should still move on and find love and happiness and all that jazz, which is kind of alluded to in the second arc, and it seems to be happening with Angel, which is very interesting to watch play out.
It is. And I think the second arc is better. The second arc feels much more focused.
Absolutely.
But the first arc is fun, though, and it's very much, like we've been saying, it's very much the show. But it's also the part of the show I probably like the least, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
The second arc, though, is much more in line with what I prefer.
The second arc is what, if they give me more stuff, and if they gave me more stuff like that from the show, I would have been, riveted. Because I think I'm a sucker for, multiverse versions of the same character and what's different, right? And they even set that up. Even they kind of set it up in the first arc with the arrival of Oz,
Yeah.
because Oz comes in right at the beginning.
Oh, you know what? I just connected the dots on that. What Oz says, and then what actually happens. There's a through line there. I didn't think about that until just now.
Yeah, and Oz is very familiar as well. I mean, they didn't alter him too much. But just before we get to the second part, his opening appearance, when he's running through the alleyway and whatever, and there's the it's not a okay. When I say this is gonna sound weird, but you'll know what I mean. There's the quote unquote voiceover.
Yeah.
Right. It reminded me of. Do you remember early in the show, in one of the episodes, there was a TV commercial made for Angel Investigations?
Vaguely.
And so the characters were watching it, but the episodes opens up like that, and it had a character in danger running through an alley.
Oh, did it?
With a voiceover over it, and it's like, this is reminiscent of that advertisement for Angel Investigations.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I remember there being a commercial, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. And so I thought that was a cool pull as well. I just want to highlight that.
That Wikipedia's got a lot of information.
Evidently, yeah. But yeah, so like the arrival of this alternate version of Angelus, right? And he's killing other versions of Angel across the multiverse because it makes him more powerful. In doing so is pretty entertaining, and he's just so violent, and the perverse joy he gets from going on a killing spree.
It really reminds me of when we saw Angelus in both shows.
Yeah.
In both series. Again, they must have went back and looked at it because it's really accurate.
Yeah.
Even down to the way he speaks, and it's very literal and kind of like it's vicious. Even though he speaks is vicious.
Yeah, he doesn't pull his punches. Yeah.
I think the Spike was a little bit different. Not just in the look, he looks like Jared Leto's Joker for some reason, but the personality was a little different too. Because I don't remember Evil Spike being that way, but we hadn't seen him in so long. I could be wrong.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Evil Spike didn't really last long. He was there for a season or two, pretty heavy, and then he disappears. When he comes back, he's not that way.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to go back and see what he was like, just to see if maybe our perception of him has been clouded all these years.
Because, I think of the version that we know now.
But it was so cool still to like that there was also another version of Spike.
Yeah, and he did look cool, and seeing them together was cool.
Yeah. But seeing that dynamic with Angelus and Spike and Drusilla working together, it was very much okay. These are the
times.
Yeah, like these are the. I don't want to say the good old days, but
the good old days. Yeah.
In respect, they were not for the people dealing with their wrath, but for audiences, it was fun. And just like the art did a great job of showing the brutality, the violence, and the gore of these battles between two Spikes, two Angels, and a whole group of
innocent bystanders
and sidekicks and everything in between. It was really, what I thought was a really fun part of the comic was when Angel goes to Romania, in part to like hopefully draw Angelus away from the group, but also to film a movie. And he goes to film and star as Van Helsing.
Yeah.
So the vampire starring in a movie as a vampire hunter, that aspect of it.
I love the bit when the actor playing Dracula walks away from him. He says something like, "You want to know something about your friend Vlad? He never lived here."
Yeah, it was nothing like that.
I thought that was funny.
That was fun. And then he has that first confrontation with Angelus, which is pretty cool.
It is.
And Angelus was actually dressed as like a more classic, old school kind of Dracula, because his line was, "I had the wardrobe department whip this up for me before I killed him." That was pretty cool. The art was a real driving force for this comic series.
It was, particularly in this issue that we're talking about. That the part where Angelus is on I think he was on a bridge or something when he was killing the actor and Angel was below him.
Yeah,
that was a really cool visual.
Yeah, it was. But the art was just so good. Like there's so many bits that were just so good. Like alternate Spike when he's killed and he's on fire.
Yeah,
it looked really. That was really striking. Kudos to both the artist and the colorist on that page. The one of the interesting things that I saw was the Dr. Death, because the whole throughout the book, Zombie Wesley seemingly takes one to save Spike.
Takes one for the team, yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like he's dead at this point, right? But Spike has this idea to transfer up part of his soul to Wesley to allow him to, quote unquote, live. But this doctor is very much kind of like a Dr. Frankenstein type of deal, but he's got his own nefarious plot going, where he wants to take all of Spike's soul. And that starts throughout the course of the book, starts causing Spike to, like this universe of Spike, to revert back to his more evil, uncontrollable self for a bit. And then once Wesley notices this, Wesley makes the ultimate sacrifice of saying, "No, I got to give him his soul back," right? And he does that. And throughout the course of meeting this doctor, he makes the illusion of wanting to. It'd be fun to resurrect this teenage dead Slayer, who was really good, but she died early on in her career.
That was a fun one.
And at first I'm like, oh, it's just a throw. I mean, I'm like, who could it be? Not thinking. Spoilers. By the way, if you haven't read this, you should have read it.
I think we've already ruined everything.
We jumped the shark, but in the spoilers.
Sorry.
Spoilers. The vampire slayer he's talking about, the dead vampire slayer he's talking about, is Buffy.
I thought it was Buffy when he mentioned it.
Oh, you did? I thought, could it have been Faith? Could it have been...
No, I thought it was Buffy, but I assumed it was just like a throwaway nod.
Yeah.
Like, in case you guys were wondering where Buffy is, she's dead. I think that I took it as that.
Yeah. But then we actually see her, because the team is getting so overwhelmed by evil Angelus and evil Spike and Drusilla and their sort of horde of vampire forces, that once they've sort of forced the doctor to help them out, Spike has the idea, the doctor gives Spike the idea of, Spike and the team, let's resurrect a dead Slayer.
Yeah.
And so they do it, much how Wesley gave Spike his soul back. And you go to the graves site, and when the gravestone says Buffy something, I'm like, oh wow, they actually, all right, we're going there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, we are doing this.
And then so they do it, and she pops out, and Buffy was pretty much early season teenage Buffy, as you remember her from the show.
She kind of reminded me more of the movie version, but either way, it's Buffy's Buffy.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. She had more of the
I guess the Valley Girl. Feel
yeah. She had,
but that would make sense because she didn't go to Sunnyvale yet, so she still had that.
Yes, that's a good point as well. Because in the premiere, the first 2-3 episodes, there was a little bit of that in Sarah Michelle Gellar as well. So yeah, but it was really cool to see her, and part of me was like, all right, she's gonna see Angel, and instantly there's gonna be a spark.
Mm-hmm.
But there kind of wasn't.
Well, Angel does say he feels like he knows her.
There was that, but I mean, there wasn't, like, they didn't allude to the, like, hey, we're gonna hint at a future romance or anything. Do it like he was firmly in I want Cordelia territory.
Yeah, for some reason they were sitting in the grave. I don't know how that happened, but
I don't know how romantic that is, but that's not
I guess
my
for him
idea.
it was cool.
Yeah, for me that wouldn't be romantic at all. It's like, no.
This is one thing about the issue, this final issue, the 8th one. I wish there was another one, like a 9th issue, because I feel like you could have ended issue 8 with a Buffy headstone, and then issue 9 would have been the big fight, and hey,
Right.
What do we do with this random girl now? Like, what is she gonna do?
And it's also interesting in the sense that I'm pretty, they do kill. Do they kill Angelus? And yeah, right.
Oh yeah, they destroy him. He's
But
gone.
they still have a horde of. It ends with them forming a line.
It ends the way the show did.
Yeah,
similar.
right. But it's like, okay, you're right. It was almost kind of shot for shot, like
very close. It's raining in the show. It's
yeah, the only
raining in the
difference
book.
is Buffy and a couple other people are there. But yeah, but the issue that I had with that ending is I want more of this continuity.
Yeah, I'm hoping they release another volume of this or something, because this continuity is fun. There's not really anything that makes me say, "Hey, I wouldn't do that." Everything just kind of flows in a certain way, and they leave so many threads where it's like, well, what happens to the TV show? What happens to the movie? What happens to this? What do they do with Buffy now?
Yeah.
I want more of this continuity.
I'm so intrigued. I really am.
Yeah, like, I don't care about the last Vampire Slayer or.
I know you and I differ on that. I quite enjoyed it. But
I just couldn't get into it. I like the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, okay, that we agree on. So you're reading that one.
Yeah, that one's very cool. I like that a lot.
We'll definitely review that.
Yeah, that one is cool. But this one is something about it just hits. And I think it is because it feels so close to the series. Even to the point where it ends just like the series.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
And it's weird because I was okay when they announced the show was ending. Of course, I was kind of bummed, but I'm like, okay, I mean, David Boreanaz can only play a vampire that doesn't age for so long.
Yeah, and I didn't love the Angel series either. I gotta admit, I liked a lot about it.
I liked it, but I think Buffy was the better of the two.
Oh, definitely. Buffy was a much better series.
Yeah.
Angel became a whole different thing because it was a Monster of the Week show. And then they tried to thread in so many different things, like the sun and everything.
Yeah, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't as good as Buffy, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
But even still, there was the understanding that, David Boreanaz can only pull this off for so long.
Mm-hmm. Right? And he did age throughout the show.
At some point, age is going to preclude him from playing this character. Like, I just talked about him playing an older Batman, which could work. He cannot come back to Angel.
That would be so strange if he did.
Like, you'd have to use some of that MCU de-aging nonsense.
You could do that for a scene or two, but I still wouldn't want to see it. Like, Sarah Michelle Gellar has been doing the press for, what's it called, Wolfpack?
Yeah.
She's been doing a lot of press for that. They keep asking her about Buffy, and she said, I can't go back to it. You know, she realizes she's not a 18-year-old high school girl anymore.
Sure, but with Buffy, it's like, with Buffy, you can explain why she's aged.
You could.
Right?
I mean, she should age.
She could essentially be the mentor now. She could be the watcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Sarah Michelle Gellar now, I get what she's saying, that being the full-on Slayer doesn't make sense. But if they did some sort of sequel series where she was the watcher, I could see that, and she'd probably be open to something more along those lines, as opposed to every week, kicking ass and taking names.
I could even see them adapting, even though I didn't really enjoy it, I could see them adapting The Last Vampire Slayer into a movie or some kind of series, and she plays that role.
I could see that. I could see, yeah, as a one final,
that would be something.
Reboot it like we say they are going to, because I still think it's a foregone conclusion.
Everything gets rebooted. But in the case of Angel, you'd have to just get a new guy. You can't put Corey on his back.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you just, once you're playing a vampire, unless you set rules where you allow for them to look older by some shenanigans.
Maybe the soul lets him age. I don't know.
I mean, that might be, but why? Like, just like, again, if you're going to redo, if you had to, let's say they did The Last Vampire Slayer as a series, as a limited series. If you wanted to bring him back in sort of like a scene where she sees him in some, through some mystical boat, and you want to do that de-aging for like one or two scenes, sure, right? That's believable.
Yeah, that's fine.
But to have him walking around for an 8 to 10 episode series with constant de-aging, not only does that cause the budget to go skyrocket, it just, why?
You're not even going to get anything, like, I don't think the response would be that kind to it, just because you're just targeting the hardcore fans, because really the ones who are going to care about him in the series.
Yeah, like I would more focus on, Willow, Anya, or whatever.
If you can bring Xander back, I know Nicholas Brendan has had some issues.
Sure, but hey, if he's healthy enough and
bring him back.
You want to give him a paycheck, I'm sure he'll take it.
Bring back Rupert Head to do something. All that's cool.
Right.
But none of these characters are vampires.
There are two scenarios where I could see Sarah Michelle Gellar coming back. It's either as a one final hurrah in like The Last Vampire Slayer, or as the mentor, a watcher to a new Slayer.
Which could be fun.
And I think Sarah would be, I think when she says I can't go back to it, I think she means more being the permanent Slayer.
Yeah.
Than revisiting it in some capacity.
Yes, I think if you present a story that's worth telling, it might work.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, a story worth telling. And then it comes to, well, who's going to be in this show or this movie? Yeah,
right. Exactly. So
that's how you end up with Timothy Chalamet as Angel. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. He's in everything now, so.
Right, so he's in everything. WB likes him.
Or, I could see WB going to like Zac Efron and saying, "Hey, I want to be."
Oh, I don't think I'd like that at all.
No, I wouldn't want that, but he's a name.
Yeah, something like that.
As long as they don't tell me Harry Styles is Angel, I'm good.
Seth Rogen is Angel.
Oh no. There are many things I don't want to see Seth Rogen in, and that's one of them.
I could agree with that, yeah.
After the Green Hornet, I was like, please stay away from superheroes or anything else that I enjoy. Except for producing the new animated Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine.
That's going to be fun.
As a producerial role, cool, I'm down.
what's the Doctor Strange line? It's weird, but I'll allow it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, look, it's inevitable. There's going to be a reboot of these two franchises. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think they're just waiting for the Joss Whedon nonsense to kind of, the waters to kind of calm a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they'll do something. But
I mean, until then, we have comics, though. Hopefully, the comics stay on this level of quality.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued, and like I said, I want more of this. But what would you rate this particular book from? So,
are we going to split the arcs or just as a whole?
So the writing is 5, and the art is also out of 5.
Ooh. But are we separating the arcs, or are we just doing as one?
I would do it as pretty much one, because it did have a through line, even though.
Okay, I'm actually, I really like the story and the art. I think I might go 5 and 5. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'll go 4. I'll go 5 for the story, and 4.5 for the art. I like the art, but it would have been a little cooler if they were the
exact likenesses.
Not exact, because I know that legally.
That's what I was thinking too. I was really like, it would be cool if Cordelia looked like Charisma Carpenter.
more so, like if it was less. Okay, this isn't a slight by any means, because I do like the art. But if it was less of a cartoony kind of style, that makes sense.
Okay.
Like if it veered into the realm of more superheroic comics, like a Michael Turner person type of artist, or like that kind of thing, right? As opposed to more cartoony.
Okay. I can get you on that. I like the cartoon style,
but it was still good. It still looked good. Lauren, I liked Lauren. I liked Buffy.
Yeah, she looked cool.
Angelus and Spike in vampire form looked badass.
So Angel himself looked good. They did a good job of making it look like David Boreanaz, but making him different enough so they don't get sued. That was cool.
Yeah, right. That's exactly the thing. So yeah, for me it's a 5 for story and a 4.5 for art. But I put me down as more for this continuity. I loved it, and I certainly want to see more. And Chris and I will be back to talk more Buffy and more Angel soon. And until then, you can talk to us about these characters on social media. So, Chris, where can they track you down?
You can find me at thatchris70 on Twitter, and you can also follow the podcast I do with my buddy Emmett Davis at G of the Geeks.
Yes, it's a very good and entertaining show. Always a good listen, and I recommend it highly. And for me, you can find me at Adam_LeafSfan on Twitter. We have a Twitter page for the network itself, which is at MMNPDC. We have the Facebook group, which is listed in the description below. Click that, and I will add you, and we can continue the conversation there. But in this case, remember that Angel is forever. From the first time he and Spike battle multiverse versions of themselves to the last. So long, everybody.